Last night I watched Kings Go Forth, a 1 hour, 49-minute movie from 1958 directed by Delmer Daves and starring Frank Sinatra, Tony Curtis, and Natalie Wood. And I'm going to be honest here, this movie really isn't good. To me, it was kind of only interesting for historical reasons because, and I'm going to read from the Wikipedia here, the plot involves friends of different backgrounds manning an observation post in southern France who fall in love with the same French girl. She proves to be of American mulatto ancestry. And yeah, that girl is Natalie Wood, who is of, again, thank you Wikipedia, Russian and Ukrainian descent. And again, third thank you Wikipedia. In the movie, themes of racism and miscegenation provide the conflict elements between the leading characters, something that was out of the ordinary for films of the time. Now, obviously, we look at this very differently as modern audiences for what should be very obvious reasons. But the reason I say it's only interesting as a historical artifact is that the movie itself is pretty boring, even though the hearts of those involved were, well, they weren't exactly in the right place. I mean, Natalie Wood should just not play a half-black woman. But for the time, I believe this was considered progressive. Now, when I say the hearts of those involved were probably in a slightly better place than the rest of Hollywood, I'll say that this was a full 3 years before Breakfast at Tiffany's, which has, good heavens, one of the most racist scenes of all time, so that could give you an idea of where a lot of Hollywood was at the time. But, of the main people involved in this, on the other hand, well, Frank Sinatra was notably an activist for desegregation and played a big role in getting Nevada desegregated. Tony Curtis, who you might know as Jamie Lee Curtis's dad, which, side note, it's crazy to think that this movie is like 2 steps separated from Everything Everywhere All at Once. My mind kind of breaks thinking about it. But yeah, Tony Curtis was similar to Sinatra, and he was also in The Defiant Ones a year before, a movie with Sidney Poitier about a black prisoner and a white prisoner working together to survive. And Delmer Daves, the director, is notable for making Broken Arrow in 1950, which was one of the first major westerns since the Second World War to portray Native Americans sympathetically. But this is Hollywood, so the people in his movies playing the Native Americans are generally people like Jeff Chandler, who is of Eastern European heritage, Charles Bronson, who is of Eastern European heritage, and Deborah Paget, who is, well, not Native American. Now, if that's just something you don't want to see, totally understand that, but for Drumbeat, which Delmer Daves made in 1950-something, even though Charles Bronson is not a Native American, that movie still explores colonialism and resistance to colonialism, I think in a fascinating way, and is genuinely sympathetic towards violent resistance and guerrilla war as a means to overthrow an oppressor, which is fascinating to me as a viewer. Now, I don't know how to make the calculation of whether that's worth it for you to watch. I'm not that smart. But I can at least say that movie is at least interesting aside from being a historical document, and Broken Arrow is a sort of parent or grandparent movie to a lot of movies that tried to deal with the horrors of the West. So it's at least interesting for that, which this one unfortunately isn't. It's just not that good. Although, side note, how did Hollywood immediately respond to Broken Arrow's success? Well, they basically remade the movie next year with Deborah Paget playing a Native Hawaiian instead of a Native American. How this movie got a remaster instead of The Badlanders, which Delmer Daves made the same year and features Ernest Borgnine and Alan Ladd teaming up with an oppressed Mexican village to set a bunch of rich people on fire, I don't know. Please someone restore The Badlanders. So that's my opinion, but what do you think about all this? Please let me know in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching.